Gabriel Garcia Marquez and 100 Years of Solitude, blurring the line between history and fiction. When Jose Arcadio II came to, he was lying face up in the darkness. He realized that he was riding on an endless and silent train, and that his head was caked with dry blood, and that all his bones ached. He felt an intolerable desire to sleep. Prepared to sleep for many hours, safe from the terror and horror, he made himself comfortable on the side that pained him less, and only then did he discover that he was lying against dead people. There was no free space in the car except for an aisle in the middle. Several hours must have passed since the massacre because the corpses had the same temperature as plaster in autumn and the same consistency of petrified foam that it had. And those who had put them in the car had had time to pile them up in the same way in which they transported bunches of bananas. Trying to flee from the nightmare, Jose Arcadio II dragged himself from one car to another in the direction in which the train was heading. And in the flashes of light that broke through the wooden slats as they went to sleeping towns, he saw the men corpses, women corpses, child corpses, who would be thrown into the sea like rejected banana. Through passages like this one, 100 Years of Solitude became central in resurrecting the history of a strike and the horrors of a massacre which had been systemically silenced and denied in the decades after their occurrence. As Garcia Marquez tells us in the novel, the official version repeated 1,000 times and mangled out all over the country by every means of communication the government found at hand was finally accepted. There were no dead. According to government officials, nothing has happened in Macondo, nothing has ever happened or will ever happen. This is a happy town. Mounting discontentment with the exploitative policies of the United Fruit Company culminated in the strike of banana workers in November of 1928 in Ciénaga, on the Caribbean coast of Colombia. Between 11,000 to 30,000 rural protesters, including peasants, wage workers, and merchants, galvanized to demand better working conditions, paralyzing banana production for weeks. Although partly organized by the Revolutionary Socialist Party, protesters did not call for a communist revolution, but instead demanded the fulfillment of national labor legislation and the formalization of labor relations. Prior to the strike, however, the United Fruit Company refused to speak with workers, arguing that since they were ajusteros or contract laborers, the company was not responsible for providing any kind of social benefits. Yet government officials and United Fruit quickly dismissed workers' discontentment as communist agitation and depicted protesters as hoodlums, rebels, arsonists, and murderers. Conservative President Miguel Abadia Mendez declared martial law in the Magdalena region and ordered the deployment of thousands of troops to quell the uprising. On December 5th, General Carlos Cortés Vargas, with the support of the United Fruit Company, ordered the military to fire protesters who were peacefully congregating in Ciénaga, killing an unknown number of civilians, which has been estimated between 3 and 3,000. There has been important debate on whether the account of the events presented by Garcia Marquez was real, accurate, or historical enough. Literary critics have seen the novel as a source of history, with some like Gerald Martin interpreting it as a socialist history of Latin America, and others like Darío Jaramillo Agudelo contending that the truth about Latin American history is to be found in its novels. Yet historians have been more resistant to the idea of the novel as history, in particular over the number of victims murdered, which in the novel Jose Arcadio II concluded to be 3,000. Some like Eduardo Posada Carbo know that the book has been uncritically consumed as history, and that there are contradictory figures for the number of victims in the historical record, 3, 47, 100, 1,000. This observation comes partly from a fixation, if not from the fetishization of written archives as the best window into the past. Garcia Marquez's writings, on the other hand, are rooted in a profoundly political journalistic tradition, and in Colombian oral histories, legends, and folklore practices, with different takes on accessing the past. We need to ask ourselves if finding out the exact number of people killed changes a narrative, and if so, how, and what kind of history are we interested in learning from and producing, one that is essentially driven by the archival record and a Western understanding of objectivity, or one that also takes seriously the role of words, myths, local oral traditions, and poeticism in documenting and writing about the past. Whether it was 3, 47, 100, or 3,000, the truth remains that the massacre was an attack on peacefully congregated protesters by an all-too-common alliance between national elite and foreign corporations who wanted to suppress labor justice. As Garcia Marquez remarked, what happens is that in Latin America, By decree, an event of 3,000 people is forgotten. This, which seems fantastic, is extracted from the most Couturian reality. Here Garcia Marquez alluded to his literary and I will argue historical method, lo real maravilloso, which has been poorly translated in English as magical realism. The real marvelous has been largely contextualized and depoliticized by North American audiences, who fixate on the magical dimension almost in an exoticizing way towards Latin American life. As Garcia Marquez stated, it always amuses me that the biggest praise for my work comes from the imagination, while the truth is that there's not a single line in all of my work that does not have a basis in reality. The problem is that Caribbean reality resembles the wildest imagination. Lo real maravilloso is central to his post-colonial thinking. It should be seen as a form of protest that challenges the authenticity of objective reality and a linear understanding of time. As Mustanir Ahmad and Ajaz Akhzar observed, Garcia Marquez tried to portray the version of reality from the perspective of the other by mingling history and literature, truth and lies in an inseparable way. The intersecting boundaries of lies and truth made the magical real world of fiction more confusing and uncertain. It is this uncertainty that makes it attractive enough to lead the reader to believe in this amalgamation. So terrible of a crime was the massacre that it almost seems fictitious, even magical. But it is not the physical balance in itself that is extraordinarily terrible, for balance is a reappearing theme in the novel and sadly in Latin Americans' history. What is especially terrible about this episode is the balance inherent in the process of denying and silencing its occurrence. In the novel, the engineers of the Banana Company orchestrated a deluge that washed away any precise memory of the terror, of the lives of the slaughtered women, children, and workers, and even of the existence of the Banana Company. The water left Macondo in ruins. In the swampy streets, there were the remains of furniture, animal skeletons covered with red lilies, the last memories of the hordes of newcomers who had fled Macondo as wildly as they had arrived. The houses that had been built with such haste during the banana fever had been abandoned. All that remained of the former water-in city were the ruins. In a way, the orchestration of the deluge of oblivion by engineers, which in the novel are symbols of Western scientific progress and mechanization, become the violent silencing of history by rationality, objectivity, and empiricism itself. The novel and Garcia Marquez's historical method challenges the presumption that only through a written historical record can we attain a comprehensive fragment of the past. 100 Years of Solitude's powerful critique of historicism, historical silence, imperialism, and capitalism has been inspired generations of scholars and students of history like myself. I personally credit the novel with my politicization as a teenager growing up outside Colombia, and for always deepening my interest in Latin American and Caribbean popular culture, politics, and history.